Imagine waking up tomorrow, packing everything you own, and walking away. Not for a new job, not for a better house, not because you wanted an adventure, because staying where you were born meant you would probably die. That sounds like an ancient story, except it isn't. Every person alive today is descended from people who made exactly that choice. But here's the strange part. For almost all of human history, leaving home was one of the most dangerous things anyone could do. Unknown predators, unknown diseases, unknown people, unknown food. Everything outside your homeland was a gamble. So why would anyone risk it? First, the answer seems obvious. They ran out of food. That should explain everything. It doesn't. Around 300,000 years ago, our ancestors lived in Africa. Not cities, not kingdoms, small bands of families, a few dozen people. The world around them was already rich with rivers, forests, grasslands, and animals. If one hunting ground became difficult, another usually existed nearby. They didn't need to cross continents. So why did they eventually spread across nearly every piece of land on Earth? That question gets stranger the longer you look at it, because for tens of thousands of years, they didn't. Humans existed for an incredibly long time before they began filling the world. Something changed. But what? The first clue comes from the sky. Imagine standing on an African plain. One year, rain arrives exactly when expected. The next year, nothing. The lakes shrink. The grass turns brown. Animals disappear over the horizon. Then, centuries later, the rain returns. Scientists studying ancient lake sediments discovered that Africa wasn't stable. It swung between wet worlds and dry worlds over thousands of years. Entire landscapes appeared, then vanished. Maybe humans simply followed the changing climate. Problem solved. Except, it wasn't, because other animals faced the same changing climate. Most of them stayed within roughly the same regions. Humans did something completely different. They kept going. Then another clue appeared. Stone tools. Not just one kind. Hundreds of styles. Archaeologists noticed something surprising. Whenever humans entered a new environment, the tools changed. New blades, new spear points, different ways of cutting plants, different ways of preparing hides. It looked less like people escaping disaster, and more like people experimenting. Instead of waiting for nature to solve problems, they invented solutions. Maybe that explains it. Humans could adapt anywhere. Case closed. Not quite, because being clever doesn't automatically make migration worth the risk. You can build better spears. That doesn't explain why you would leave familiar land for places you've never seen. There had to be another reason. Now picture a small group of hunter-gatherers. 30 people. Children running between adults. Elders telling stories beside a fire. Everyone knows everyone. Generation after generation, the group grows. A few babies survive who wouldn't have before. Suddenly there are 40 people. Then 50. The land hasn't changed. The food hasn't doubled. The arguments become more common. Who hunts where? Who gathers which plants? Who gets the best shelter? No one wants conflict, so a handful of families make a decision. They don't fight, they leave. Not because the land is empty, because too many people now depend on it. Population pressure probably pushed groups apart again and again. It sounds convincing, until we notice another mystery. Many places humans entered were already occupied. Europe wasn't empty, neither was Asia. Other humans were already living there. Neanderthals, Denisovans, and several other human relatives we only recently discovered. If migration was about finding empty land, why walk into someone else's territory? That should have stopped everything. Instead, humans kept moving. Sometimes they mixed with these groups. Sometimes they competed. Sometimes both. The journey continued. So maybe migration wasn't simply about escaping problems. Maybe humans had become something new. The strongest clue isn't found in bones. It's found in imagination. Unlike any earlier species, humans could carry knowledge farther than experience. One person discovers edible berries. Everyone learns. One person invents a better spear. Children copy it. One group survives a harsh winter. Stories spread. Knowledge no longer died with individuals. It accumulated. Each generation started a little farther ahead. That changed the mathematics of exploration. Every new place wasn't completely unknown anymore. Came with shared memory, shared tools, shared ideas. For the first time, exploration became less random and more predictable, not safe, just survivable. Then came perhaps the biggest surprise of all. Genetic studies suggest humans didn't leave Africa only once. There were multiple waves. Some disappeared entirely. Some merged with earlier populations. Others became the ancestors of nearly everyone living outside Africa today. Migration wasn't one heroic journey. It was thousands of experiments. Most failed. A few succeeded. History only remembers the successful paths, which makes the story seem inevitable. It wasn't. At countless moments, humanity could have remained much smaller, much more local. History balanced on decisions made by tiny groups whose names we'll never know. So why didn't humans stay where they were born? Not because of one drought, not because they were naturally restless, not because they wanted adventure. It was the combination. Changing climates created opportunities. Growing populations created pressure. Technology reduced risk. Language preserved knowledge. Cooperation made impossible journeys survivable. Each factor alone wasn't enough. Together, they transformed a species that adapted to places into one that searched for them. But here's the twist. We've been asking the wrong question. Humans didn't become successful because they migrated. Humans migrated because they had already become successful at sharing knowledge. The real invention wasn't the spear, or fire, or even language itself. It was the ability to pass discoveries from one generation to the next without starting over. Every migration was built on someone else's lesson. Every explorer walked with thousands of invisible teachers. And even today, when millions of people move across countries for work, safety, education, or opportunity, they're still following the same pattern. Not simply searching for a better place, but carrying knowledge into places that were once unknown. Our ancestors didn't conquer the planet because they were the strongest animals. They did it because every journey became a lesson, and every lesson made the next journey possible.